Okay, Algebra 2 students, this is day 2 of our super long warm-up. This is page 2 of our super long warm-up. So in problem 5, we're trying to find a third degree polynomial in factored form that goes through these points. So the first thing you want to do is find your x-intercepts, because the x-intercepts, these make the factors. So if 3 is a 0, that means that x minus 3 is a factor. Because if I set x minus 3 equal to 0, I would solve that and get x equals 3. And then because 1 is a 0, I have x minus 1. And because negative 4 is a 0, I have x plus 4. The other one, this is a y-intercept, and we're going to use that later to find our a value. So we know there's an a value that goes in front of the factors, and y equals all of this. So to find a, we're going to plug in our y-intercept. We plug in 0 for the x and 36 for the y. So I put 36 in, and 0 minus 3 is negative 3, 0 minus 1 is negative 1, and 0 plus 4 is 4. Negative 3 times negative 1 times 4 is positive 12, so I get 12a, and when I divide, I get a equals 3. Now the question doesn't ask only for a, it asks for the whole equation. So I'm going to plug that back in to my factored equation. Y equals, put the 3 in, and then the factors. Alright, in problem 6, it says find all the zeros of the function. Use the graphing calculator to find the real zeros, and then use division and the quadratic formula to find imaginary zeros. So I'm going to pull up the calculator. And press y equals. And put in x to the third plus 5x minus 18. And when you graph it, you see that there's one real zero and it's 2. 1, 2. So I'm going to divide by the factor x minus 2. So because I have a 0 at 2, I'm dividing by x minus 2. And if I'm doing synthetic division, I would put 2 in the box. And then you line up your coefficients. So the coefficient of x to the third is 1. I have no x squared, so I need to put a 0. Coefficient of the x is 5. And coefficient of the last term is negative 18. So the process for synthetic division is bring down the first, multiply 2 times 1, and you get 2, add, multiply, add, multiply, and add. And the 0 there means I divided evenly because that's the remainder. I started with x to the third, which means that when I divide it by x, I'm going to end with x squared. So I have 1x squared plus 2x plus 9. So to find the imaginary zeros, I need to use the quadratic formula, which is right here. My a is 1, my b is 2, there should be an x there, b is 2, and my c is 9. So I'm going to plug those numbers into the quadratic formula. Alright, so my discriminant is 2 squared minus 36, so that would be negative 32. So I have x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 32 over 2. I'm going to take negative 1 out as an I, and then 32, I'm going to break that up into prime factors. So it could be 8 times 4, and then the 4 is 2 times 2, and the 8 is 2 times 4, and another 2 times 2. So I can take out 1, 2, another 2, and the last 2 is left under the radical. So x equals negative 2 plus or minus The negative comes out as an I. I said I was going to take out 2 times 2, so that's 4. And I have a square root of 2 left underneath. Still divided by 2. Next, I need to divide both parts of this complex number by 2. So I'm going to have negative 2 divided by 2, that's negative 1. And then 4i root 2 divided by 2 is plus or minus 2i root 2. So I have one real solution, that's the one that I found by graphing. I have 2 imaginary solutions down here, so you can write your set of all solutions. My set of all solutions would be positive 2, negative 1 plus 2i root 2, negative 1 minus 2i root 2. All right, and our last problem is a regression problem. It tells us it's a cubic function, so we're going to do a cubic regression. We need to put the data in our list. So you're going to press Stat on your calculator, and you're going to edit your lists. And you're going to put the first line in L1 and the second line in L2. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I need to put gestation in days in my L1. 21, 44, 'Then use your right arrow to get to list 2. And then press Stat again, calculate, and choose cubic regression. Okay, so my A value is actually really small. You see the E negative 7 there? That means times 10 to the negative 7. So I'm going to write down my equation. My A is 6.47 times 10 to the negative 7. My B is negative 5.10 times 10 to the negative 4. My C is 0.13, and my D is 2.06. So I'm going to have a pretty long equation. I have y equals 6.47 times 10 to the negative 7 x to the third minus 5.10 times 10 to the negative 4 x squared plus 0.13x plus 2.06. So you're going to type the equation in your calculator putting in 151 because they asked us to do that, to plug in 151 for all of your x's. So you put 151 here, here, and here. And when you plug that in your calculator, you should pause the video now and see if you can get the same answer. I get 12.3 years.